My name is Matt Olin. I'm the host, and I'm
Today is the 6-month anniversary of Creative Mornings Charlotte. We're here today because Matt had a vision to bring this to Charlotte. He knew that Charlotte was a community that would not only support an effort like this, but love on it and make it grow. It's not only that Charlotte is a community of creative people, but we are part of a global community, and we want to remember that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Creative Mornings Charlotte, and please welcome Brianna Susan Smith, Jesse Kimmel, Alea Tuttle, and Jeff White. They are going to be performing The Slave's Complaint. This is an original tune set to words by George Moses Horton. It's part of a new show from performance ensemble Taproot entitled Dinner Bell, a field guide to inappropriate Southern conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Taproot.
He was the first person of African descent to have work published in the United States.
And am I sadly cast aside on misfortune's rugged tide? Will the world my pains deride? Leave me not a wretch confined, altogether lame and blind, unto gross despair consigned forever. And must I dwell in slavery's night, and all pleasure take its flight, far beyond my feeble sight? And when this transient life shall end, may some kind eternal friend bid me from servitude ascend forever, forever.
Every time we meet from now on, we're going to record a video for another chapter around the globe. Matt's going to come up. He's going to shoot a really quick video. Hi from the Queen City in Perth, Australia.
Hey, y'all from the Queen City! Woo! What's up, Perth? Yes! Here we go. Okay, here we go. So we're actually going to play truth and things that rhyme with dare, okay? So I'm going to ask each of you truth or dare, and you get to choose. Dare's more fun. But, okay, let's ask. Sydney, truth or dare?
Truth.
Man, you starting out with truth? Okay, all right.
Dare.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sweet. She went with dare. Okay. Here's what I need you to do, Sydney. We're going to do truth or Blair with you, okay? I want you to run out to the sidewalk, and I want you to yell the following line loud enough for us to hear it in here.
Oh, okay.
So someone's got to hold the door open. Okay, Alison Mountaineer is going to hold the door open. People of Charlotte, I am a creative being, and you will bend to my will. Go.
People of Charlotte, I'm a creative being and you will bend to my will.
Yes. Steven, truth or dare?
I'm scared now.
Don't be scared. Dare. Sweet. You need to wear this for the rest of the show. Come on, come on, come on.
Oh my God.
Come on. It's a harmless dare. It's a harmless dare. By the way, notice for copyright reasons it says billionaire wig, okay? You actually look awesome. We're gonna do one more thing. I need you to run outside, grab someone off the sidewalk, anyone walking by, and convince them, we're gonna do truth or ensnare. Convince them to come in here. Okay. Can you do it? Go. I want you, while she's out there finding someone, I want you to do an interpretive dance of how you're feeling right now. Go. Here, I'll get you kicked off. Okay? She's coming. Okay. All right, everyone, try to act normal. Oh my gosh. She does have someone. Yes. That's awesome.
They had to cross the street, so it took us a
Come here. How's it going? Totally normal here. What's your name?
Dylan.
And Dylan, are you from Charlotte or are you visiting?
Charlotte.
Okay. Do you want to tell us anything else, like what you do?
Nope.
Okay. I would be suspicious right now, too. What is your name?
Joe.
Joe. Are you from Charlotte as well?
Yes.
And do you want to tell us what you do?
That's okay.
Okay. That's good. You know what? Major points for just coming in here. It's time to bring up Cooper. All right, Cooper was born and raised in Charlotte and was baptized into the world in Joyce-Kilmer National Forest. He began whitewater kayaking at the age of 12 and has since plunged into rivers, cultures, and communities in over 20 countries across 6 continents. He is now the curator of the Explorer series at the U.S. National Whitewater Center. This is a creative initiative promoting the active outdoor lifestyle. Ladies and gentlemen, coming here to speak to us on the global theme of risk, please welcome Cooper Lambla. Come on out, Cooper. Here's the clicker.
I wanted to get this thing going by letting y'all know that I am 100% not qualified to be up here speaking to you about the subject of risk. I think there's many people who have literally spent entire lives looking into this subject. You think about academic professors who have written dissertations on this. You think about philosophers who have gone into it in such length, writing novels. And here I am trying to talk to you about risk. I have read little to none of what they have written, and I guess I just have a perspective, so I'd like to share that with you. Like Matt said, it's a perspective from the river. I wanted to start off with this slide here from the Zambezi River on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe. The Zambezi flows off a waterfall known as Mosi-oa-Tunya, which is also known as the smoke that thunders. In Western cultures, it's known as Victoria Falls. Below Victoria Falls are some rapids known as the Minas Rapids. Now, among whitewater kayakers, these are very infamous rapids. I remember as a little kid watching videos of these things. My parents who are here in the audience can attest to the fact that I would sit in front of the TV before the school bus would come pick me up and watch and study people running these very rapids. And so it was a dream when in 2014 I was able to go to the Zambezi and look at them with the intention of potentially running them. I wanted to go through kind of the process of what that looks like. Here I'm standing with my friends Zach Sears, Tyler Allen. This is a photo taken by a good friend, Fergus Coffey. And we're doing what's called scouting. Now when you scout a rapid, it's the idea that you're looking for hazards and you're also looking for ways through it, what we call in the kayaking community the line. And this is a kind of weird process that takes a long time to figure out. You're looking at a rapid, you're looking for rocks underwater on the side that could become hazardous. You're looking for features within the water. You know, you can think about them as almost, there's what we call hydraulics or holes. You can think of those almost as like a washing machine of water that a kayak can get stuck in. And so these are obviously things you don't want to interact with on the river, but you're also looking for ways through a rapid. these safe passages, these lines. And so that kind of process is this interesting balance of risk and opportunity. And the way you have to go into it is you think about, all right, well, what other experiences have I had in this realm? And you kind of balance everything around each other. And that process is what we call the idea of listening to your gut instinct. And I think we all know a little bit about that, and I want to touch on it further on in the talk. But I want to take a step back real quick and talk about why. You know, why are we out there risking our lives when ultimately it's a choice? I've traveled around the world chasing these whitewater rivers, and often I get in a place like where this photo was taken on the border of Bangladesh and India, and you kind of wonder, okay, we come from a kind of society of comfort, convenience, and here we are out here voluntarily risking our lives. Like, why are we able to do that? Like, why should we do that? Here these guys meet on the side of the road. They wake up in the morning and they risk their life literally to put food on the table. I mean, they've got flashlights strapped to their heads. They're wearing sandals. And this happens all over the world. In countries of oppression, in countries of war, people are out there risking their lives because they have to. And here we are risking our lives for a choice. So that's an interesting kind of thought. And I can't actually stand up here and say exactly why, but I think it has something to do with the fact that there's so many questions out in the world, and perhaps this is the best way that I've found, at least, to experience those questions. There's a lot of unknown left out in the world, despite everything we have. You know, you get on the internet and you can find almost anything these days. But there is unknown and questions left to be discovered out there in the world. And in my experience, the river has been kind of the best way for me to dive into those questions. And what I've kind of discovered is that you can go through life and you can ask these questions. And if you do so in search of answers, you'll always be disappointed. Because at the end of every answer, there comes another question. So the goal is to go into these questions and be fully aware, be fully present within the experience of that question. If you can do that, all of a sudden, you can lead a life full of happiness, contentment, and you will always be challenged. So here's a good friend of mine, Benny Luck, asking questions deep in a gorge up on the Alsek River. Now, that kind of explanation of risk or of these questions makes it certainly quite alluring and glamorous to be taking risks, but it's not always that way, I can assure you. This is an image up in Labrador. You know, the spectrum of consequence is huge out there on the river and in life. I think we can kind of start to explain or understand these consequences as we experience them. Here, Daniel Stewart is shivering late in the evening. Now, that's a pretty low risk compared to what he was doing earlier in that day. I think it's very important to think about that concept of consequence. A consequence is kind of this idea of the possibility of failure. And I mean, literally, who in this room is not scared to fail? Exactly. Everybody up here is scared to fail. And I can completely relate to that all the time. I mean, I'm standing up here talking about risk when I go risk my life in whitewater kayaking all the time. That alone, I'm risking my own reputation perhaps to do that. But it's important to go through these risks and understand the consequences. If we don't fail multiple times, then we'll never understand the true consequence of what we're doing. It's also important to understand that that consequence doesn't always have to do with ourselves. It has to do with the communities that we're surrounded, the people that we influence, and the people that we interact with. The more we go out there and risk and understand risk and accept the consequences, the more people that those consequences end up affecting. We've got a saying out on the river. It goes something along the lines that she, the river, is always mightier than we. Now think about that for a second. She, the river, is always mightier than we. It's kind of an interesting thought. I've thought about it a lot. And again, you know, It's this idea that we must respect the world in which we live in order to interact with it in a responsible manner. So it's a balance of risk and respect out there. Take the Grand Canyon of the Stikine River, for example. This river, located in northern British Columbia, has been referred to as the K2 of whitewater kayaking. Now, those of you who are unfamiliar with K2, it's the second tallest mountain in the world. But unlike Everest, it doesn't get climbed very often due to its extreme remoteness, its danger, and its consequence. The Grand Canyon of the Stikine holds similar allure among the whitewater kayaking community. Less than 200 people have ever even attempted to go down this river. Now, I can't quite wrap my head around this idea of, or I can't quite explain this idea of respect. The amount of respect you must have to even make the drive up to the Grand Canyon of Stikine. You think about a river, one such as the Stikine. That river is so powerful. Not only has it carved that gorge, but it's created its home for so many animals. You think about all the grizzly bears, the wolves, the mountain goats that you see clamoring among these cliffs. She, the river, is always mightier than we. To go up to a river such as the Stikine River and believe that you have the strength or even experience to overpower such a powerful being or part of our world is to go into that situation with complete ignorance. So it's this idea that you need to balance the risk and the respect. So I didn't start off by paddling the Stikine. I think the way we can go into these situations with the proper amount of respect is to start small and grow incrementally. Now, with my experience with whitewater kayaking, that's been done through experience, gaining experiences first at the beginning and then growing upon them at very small increments and trying to understand not only the risk, but the consequence at each step along the way. Say, for example, you take a risk and you get lucky. If you don't quite understand that consequence at that moment, when you take another risk at a higher level, all of a sudden, you're going to be you might perhaps be stepping over the line. So I think one of the other interesting ideas of this progression is that in whitewater kayaking, my experience has been that as that progression happens, yes, there is this progression of skill, this progression of ability and experience, but along with that, you start to understand that there's these lessons you're learning. You're learning lessons not only about yourself and the world around you and the cultures that you're interacting with, and you realize that these lessons can become they represent more than what you just see on the river. These lessons are applicable into any part of your life. And so it's an interesting idea when you're floating down a river such as the Alsek River up in the Yukon territories, that you're always learning. You're always going through this process, and whatever you're learning on the river, you can relate back to any portion of your life. An example of this is an opportunity I got in the year 2014. I was approached by the U.S. National Whitewater Center here in Charlotte, an organization who I've been involved with since a very young age. It's an organization that promotes the active outdoor lifestyle, family and civic interaction, as well as environmental stewardship. So you can say, all right, if you've been approached by an organization like that, what is the risk there? And it's kind of interesting because at the time, I was risking almost everything I had. I risked the very thing that I believed and valued in the most, and that was my freedom. I developed this lifestyle of chasing rivers around the world. In the evenings, I'd fall asleep on either mountains or by the rivers in the valley floors. I didn't own a cell phone. I didn't own a laptop computer. I was literally free to do anything I wanted. I had a great seasonal job with the Forest Service. At the end of every summer, I'd buy a one-way plane ticket to the destination of my choice out in the world. And I could do that because I was finding this balance between risk and respect. So this opportunity came up with the Whitewater Center to come back to Charlotte and share with folks like yourselves the opportunities of living this lifestyle And I kind of started to think about it, and I said, well, how am I going to decide whether or not I want to give up that freedom to do this? It is a huge opportunity. It's something I'm passionate about, but I value that freedom so much. And so I took a step back. I said, okay, I've got to approach this just like I do every time. I've got to approach it like a rapid or like I would on the river. I'm going to evaluate the situation for its consequences, its hazards, its risks, and I'm also going to evaluate it looking for opportunities. What is my line? Do I see a line? If you don't see a line and the risks are too great, you walk. In whitewater kayaking, we call it a portage. And if you do see a line, you go for it. I went for it, and now I'm here living in Charlotte. It's the exact same process that went on over on the Zambezi River. We're looking at the Minas Rapids, and you've got the spray from Victoria Falls, literally one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, hitting your face, and you're wondering, oh my gosh, can I do this? I mean, I can't explain the power of moving water, especially in that form. You're looking at this huge rapid. It's continuous. It goes on for as far as you can see. You've seen all these videos growing up as a kid. I remember this one in particular. There's a kayaker that comes off the first set, this first drop in this rapid, and he gets devoured by the first feature. Comes out of his boat and is held underwater for a long time. I've had experiences similar to that. I've experienced that consequence. I understand it, at least, to know what could happen out there. But I also am looking back and I'm looking at the opportunities and the experiences that I've had that have been positive. Think about the places that I've paddled in the Himalaya, down in Patagonia in Chile, down in the southern Alps of New Zealand. And I'm looking at these rapids and I'm saying, you know what? I've actually done things similar. I haven't done this one in particular, but I have done things that are similar. And so you commit to it. The feeling of peeling out of a safe place such as an eddy, which is a calm spot in a river, committing into the flow of a huge rapid such as the Minas Rapids, is one that's hard to describe. You're completely aware, you're completely focused, you're committed to what lies downstream, however unknown that may be, and you're alive. Thank you very much.
Dude, awesome. So good, man, so good. All right, we're gonna do maybe, this is why I'm glad we're partnering up with Charlotte 5, right? My fault we've gone long here, so we're probably gonna answer like maybe 2 questions or something like that, and then we'll continue, and we have a very enthusiastic question right here in the second row. Go.
Cooper, I know you almost lost your life on an adventure. You had to be portaged out. Can you tell us what you were thinking at that time? Did you know you were gonna make it?
You never know if you're gonna make it. You know, there's so many unknowns in life. I think it's impossible to say, yes, I'm always going to make it. I think that goes back to this idea of respecting the world. If you respect the world, you know that the world is more powerful than we all are. And no matter what decision you're making, that world can always get you, and it will. And so, yes, I have had experiences. It's happened to me, it's happened to others, where you get into a situation where, you know, you've been completely humbled. You've been brought down to literally your last breath. And that's a situation that you keep literally having to start improvising. And you're saying, okay, well, what experiences have I had in the past? Again, that's a reason we have to progress in these manners. This kind of progression gives you the experience. I remember one time being held underwater for so long that I literally said, okay, I don't have any more air. And I had to think, well, what can you do? Because you don't have the option to get air. And so what I thought about, I was like, well, I'm going to try to start slowing my heartbeat down first. And the rest of my body will be able to conserve what little air I had left. And that's what I did. And so I think there's just this kind of idea, this risk of going out into the unknown that we have to be comfortable with, but we also have to have confidence in ourselves. In the confidence, the ability to improvise solutions. And that confidence comes from, again, that incremental progression of skill and experience.
Other questions?
Sorry, I might have scared y'all with that.
One more time, folks. Cooper Lambla. Thank you again, man. Awesome, dude. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're all legends, every one of you. Look, the sun's out. We did that. We did that.